Good morning to all of you. Welcome back to Namaste Village and the Namaste Experience. So good to see all of you. So good to feel being seen, isn't it? To feel that, to know I am seen, I am known, I am loved, and I am sustained by the love of God. That's the lesson for the day. The I am within me is sustained, nourished by the love of God. Isn't that the most wonderful thing you could possibly ever realize? Everything I need is right there, every moment. And it is this experience, this knowledge that leads us into something we've been talking about a lot lately, whole-mindedness. To think with our whole mind rather than our split mind. The split mind is the ego. The split mind is the mind of two, which becomes the mind of four, which becomes the mind of 2 trillion and 8 trillion and 18 zillion. And George, you keep getting unmuted and I keep muting you. So I don't know if you're unmuting yourself or if your computer does it for you, but George Harris is having a mutiny on us. But we love you, George. Anyway, yes, whole-mindedness, one, just one. To be content with the one. That's all. How simple is salvation. The one is everything, right? The ego wants most things. That's an interesting way to think about it. The ego doesn't want it all, but it wants most of it. It wants only the things that it judges as worthy or good. And the rest it can let go. But your whole mind encompasses the whole thing and loves deeply. And this is why we come together here every day, is because it sparks that whole memory. Say whole memory, a memory of wholeness. Yesterday we said you cannot unknow what you've always known. It's impossible to completely deny that which has always been true and can never change. You can create the idea in your mind that such a thing is possible, but you cannot unknow it completely. It's in there. Your reality is within you, ready to explode. Explode in grace, explode in love, to just be shared everywhere, in every direction. That's what a whole mind does. They share in every direction. Because every direction is only God. Every direction is only love. So why would it pick out some or most? All. I am sustained by the love of God. That's all we need to know. Everything we need is ours, but we need to choose to see that, to know that in a whole way. So I'm very excited that I think on Thursdays for a while, we're going to have someone who's going to come and join with us that you know by now. Mr. Neil Rogan is here again. I call it whole-mindedness. He calls it delightment. I love that word, delightment. I mean, if enlightenment doesn't bring you supreme delight, what's the point? If it doesn't fill you with a joy that this world can never truly comprehend, what's the point? But there's something within you moving toward that, accepting that right now, because it is right now. Your whole mind is in you now. Your wholeness is real right now. All you need to do is to say, thank you. So I'm going to invite Neil to come on up, and he's going to share a little bit again today, and then we'll see where we end up from there. So come on up, Neil.
Oh, that's me. Okay. Yes. What a joy to be in front of you. I've been looking forward to this since the last time, and I was right. I'm going to read a little bit about something that I had this realization that people are in one of two places. They're either walking away from God towards singular success. They don't need God. It's the ego is trying to become a perfected version of itself, which is impossible. So they're on their way out, and hopefully they get to this point where they look over the abyss and go, this isn't working. And turn around and start coming back, returning to God. And they know that they're on the right track because every day gets better. So we're all on that path, returning to the source of us. And in that we have to deal with the world. We have this big yes, and the world's big no. I remember coming out of a workshop with this big yes, and the world's going no, 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 no. And like 3 weeks later, it was maybe. Then maybe becomes no. You're right. No. So anyway, this is called the world of the sleep talkers. Who cares what we argue about? Taking sides in a world of duality takes you away from the all, the one side which has no other side, the single good, the only light, the one source, God. Seek the unity, for unity transcends your consciousness. When you become aware of awareness, when you become conscious of consciousness, then you can transcend duality, become unfascinated, break the fixation, finally become disenchanted. The spell is broken, the bubble bursts, and you fall awake. Suddenly, the struggle upward to become even more singularly, separately successful as the brilliant animal atop the great pyramid of creation, where the room to be becomes less and less the closer you get to singular perfection, which is unattainable, yet ever pursuable. It gives way. You come to and find yourself standing at the gateway of a golden bridge, one that widens as you walk it, until it becomes everything, which is what you are. Now, the singular search for personal perfection has become the spontaneous surrendering to the ever-expanding experience of the love of God. My beautiful wife, who I am, it's Grace because it's impossible to preserve her. She said, when you read, you should repeat the lines. And the poet David White, he does a great job of reading, but he reads more than once. So next time I'll do that. I would like to read one more, if you don't mind.
Nice and slow.
And this is called Escape. The way is open. You've discovered the key to the great secret that allowed you to unlock the gate. The secret? The gate was never locked. The question now is, will you stand in front of the prison from which you have discovered yourself released, having never been incarcerated in the first place, and throw stones at the walls? It's tempting to dwell on what you used to think was so. No need. Put your foot firmly on the path that leads you know not where, and leave the comfort of your enslavement, the certainty of your chains where they belong, in the story you made up called your life. and in a non-existent necklace of events you totally misunderstood from your past. Leave that all behind you. Leave being predictable behind you. Leave having any idea what anything really is behind. Dare to wonder as if you know nothing, and to listen as if you can know everything. Thank you.
Just stay right there. I want to come up and join you.
Okay, good.
I want to bring Claire over here. I want to ask you a question.
Okay.
Okay, so sometimes one line will jump out. Like, oh, yeah. So the line that jumped out in this case was the comfort of your enslavement. How comfortable we are with enslavement. That is so strange when you think about it. But thinking about it is what you told yourself you would never do. To acknowledge that that's what this is. What the ego's vision of the world is to be comfortable with being enslaved. But don't look at that. Because the instant you look at that and feel it like, oh my gosh, that's true. That's the instant where release is possible. Where you realize the door that you thought was locked is not. You want to talk a little bit more about that?
Sure. The fact that we are in a prison of our own making, that it's like we're agoraphobic and we don't want to come out. The ego is it says the world is dangerous and frightening, and that you shouldn't turn your back on it. My mother was agoraphobic. She never went out of the house. My father did all the shopping. And in order for me to like insinuate and love her, I took on her fear of the outside world. And it's been a wonderful melody. Because I went inside my head where it was safe and nobody could judge me. And I was alone. And in that crucible, I found I wasn't alone. God was there. If it wasn't God, it was God enough for me. And it started me on a path of wondering, well, if I could have this relationship where I could ask a question and receive wisdom, that was a kind of a duality relationship with me over here and God over there. And over the course of time and meditation and great teachers, I reversed that. So that me that I thought I was has disappeared or is disappearing. It's becoming more transparent. It's always here, but I treat it more like a pet. It's my pet ego. And I'm trying to obedience train it so that it doesn't bite me or other people. And I'm learning that rather than identifying that me as me, it's now it. And I'm coming to the point where the it is actually disappearing because it's not real. You know, it knows it's not real. It knows it's a phony, so that it's always trying to get legitimized, right? Always trying to get you to agree that it's okay. I call that, it's trying to manage your opinion of it. So I call it opinion management. I think it's a lousy career choice too. So having given or beginning to give up, I'm really careful not to claim too much territory, as I realized how much territory there is, how little of it I have claimed, how much more there is for us to be, this endless amount of goodness. And to live in a world of where it's bad and good and hot and cold and life and death and being and nothingness, and that to be able to be singular and unitary in that world requires mighty companions. And for me, a spiritual practice. Because I have to keep coming back and remind myself, whatever the world is thinking that I used to think, isn't the world. And so I'm really so thrilled that God has led me to be here in this chair in front of you today. It's all been about this.
We are as well. You were speaking before about the ego's journey to make itself God, independent, completely self-reliant, self with a small s, reliant. And what you were really sharing was the story of the prodigal son. The prodigal son that props itself up, says, I can do this without you, but give me give me some money.
Yeah. And a fatted calf.
No, the fatted calf comes later.
Oh, okay.
I mean, how many of us went to our parents and said, imagine what would happen if you went to one of your parents and said, the inheritance I'm supposed to get after, you're gone, give it to me now. I don't know about you, but my father would react not in really the best way. But in this story, the father reacts and just says, okay, here it is. Gives everything. You see, that's the thing. The one, the creator, God, gives everything. So if that's what you need to go off to try to create yourself as God, okay, here it is. That's a beautiful thing. Of course, you're going to go off and you're going to squander. Of course, you're going to go off and live with all these crazy people that are going to get you in trouble. And then before you know it, it's going to all be gone. And that's what happens in the story, of course. And what does he have to do then? You have to put yourself into the shoes of a Jewish person, having to go and feed the pigs. This would have been the lowest possible thing you could do, right? And this is where he is now. He thinks, if I could only eat what these pigs are eating, maybe I should go home. Maybe I should go back and just throw myself at my father's feet, because I realize now that I was trying to achieve the impossible. I cannot create myself. I was already created. I was already given everything. And then, of course, when he does begin that journey home, the father comes out to meet him, doesn't even wait for him to get back, puts a ring on his finger, kills a fatted calf, a big party ensues. And to me, this is the greatest story of duality coming into singularity. We begin in that single expression, and then we say, there's got to be more than this. There's not more than everything. More than everything doesn't exist. But we have to go away to come back, to know that. I don't know why, but that seems to be true. You want to talk about that at all?
No.
The
only trouble I have with that story, which is beautiful, is it's not a good story for vegetarians. Well, the trying to become a perfected version of yourself, like your very best self, it's really popular now. Become the best you there is. It's a wild goose chase. I wrote a little short poem that just said, just as you cannot blow out the picture of a candle, you cannot fix what's never been broken. nor can you ever become a better version of who you've never been anyway.
It's good.
Or ever not be who you actually are.
Beautiful. Well, we're going to turn to Victoria now for a couple of minutes and see if Vicky has anything that she would like to add to all of this beautiful discussion. Good morning, Victoria.
Morning, Rosie. Whoops, do I have an echo? Good morning, everyone. Well, let's take the prodigal son, because that's a really good model. And like you said, it's what happens to each one of us, not just once, not just when somehow we chose to come into time and space, but it's the same thing that's happening right now, every instant. Every instant is a choice. Every instant, we're either living under the tyranny of the ego or the dominion of the soul. It's really that simple. And we're always able to go home in any one instant. That's what the holy instant is. That's what an immediate aha experience is, some kind of revelation, some kind of sense of relaxing or peace. That's finally finding ourselves at home. And, yesterday we started with Lent, and a couple of my sisters here, we had lunch together and we made a pact, just like we talked about in the morning, that this 40 days is our setup to really come into the greatest realization of our Christhood, of our soul, that we have yet experienced. Because as we're here in time, the layers of attachment peel away and things are exposed, and we either rise or we kind of go around, 40 days in the desert in circles, or we go backwards. But in this 40 days, the prodigal son is a great way to see every single situation as an opportunity to live in the truth that we are one with God, we are God's child, end of story, or we have to figure it out on our own. And figuring it out on our own is all the prodigal son was ever doing. I wrote down that line. I want to remember it too. The comfort of our own enslavement. That's so perfect, because the tyranny of the ego, we are seduced and hypnotized by our enslavement procedures. Go to the doctor, read this book, go for this political party, go and help this or help do that, do this. None of them awaken us. They're ways that we can walk around the desert for 40 more years, or the prodigal son can be drifting off before he's desperate. And at any one moment, that enslavement that the ego will call help, will call our reward, is exactly the thing that keeps us blind, literally keeps us blind. And when we finally are done with minimalizing and settling for and efforting, we finally say, no, I want to surrender to love. Love, this got to be a better way. Love, that's the territory of home. The territory of home is simply love. And love comes under the title of God's kid. God's children are loved. And we are that. We only have to identify with it. And that's every minute, every day. So yesterday, one of the girls on the conference call, Christine, who might be here today, read a Unity, a little 40-day little pamphlet they have from Unity. And every day for 40 days, they pick a new focus to release, to let go of. And I thought, oh, this is great. So yesterday's focus was to give up the tyranny of anger. Wherever we've been angry with anyone for any reason, give it up. And it is that easy, because remember, all of the ego twists and turns are always only one problem. Same as the prodigal son, I'll do it on my own. And one solution, oh, thank you, God, that you're my father. Thank you, God, that I'm your child. Thank you, God. That's always the only problem, no matter the variety of upsets that we seem to experience. So yesterday's focus, and any of you have access to that Unity pamphlet, was giving up anger like that. I think I'll just give it up. So a person comes to mind, but be vigilant. So this is what we did yesterday. So I was vigilant through the day. Who am I angry at? Oh, this or that, or whatever came up. I could offer peace instead of anger. I could do that right now. It's a choice. See, we're so used to thinking, we've been mesmerized by our emotions. Oh, but I don't feel peace. Oh, it's not genuine. Nope, just it's a choice. Just drop it. That is how simple it is, because the emotions are part of the enslavement, and they're part of the trap we've been believing in. Oh no, I don't feel peaceful. Peace is a choice. It's a choice of how am I going to use my mind to continue to do it on my own, or put it under the guidance light of love. I just choose to recognize I am God's peace here on earth, and I extend that peace freely. Wherever I thought I was angry, whatever it was, I don't know what it was about. I don't have to figure it out. It was always some place of self-condemnation anyway. So why bother? All one problem, one solution does this very well. So that was yesterday's. Today's is anxiety. Let's give up anxiety. Anxiety is a great one to give up. That's living out in the desert with no water, and instead take up faith. That's today's, I think, unity lesson, daily word, right?
Yes.
Let's take up faith. All right. Where am I lacking in faith? Where am I anxious? Am I anxious about my health, about money? Am I anxious about moving? Am I anxious about packing? Where am I anxious? Let that feeling in and choose. This is where choice is. No, I'm going to choose to trust. I'm going to choose faith. I'm going to trust that I'm guided. Isn't that the difference? If it's up to me, and we do it with everything. So instead of going through the mechanics of thinking and solving, I have this sickness. I got a concussion. Oh, I should go to the doctor. I'm still dizzy. I'm still loose as a goose. I think I was always kind of loose, but I'm more loose these days. So the ego would say, oh, you better go have that checkup. You better make sure everything's all right. Now, I may well end up doing that. But if I want to live under the Spirit, then all I have to ever do is ask, Holy Spirit, what should I do with this experience of being loose? Like I'm loose, kind of loose. What should I do with this? Do I need a follow-up doctor appointment? What do I need to do? Sit quietly? What do I need to do? That is the answer to everything. That's the switch. That's where the choice is. When we take what comes from the ego, anxiety, anger, looseness, and instead of saying, oh, this is a problem, I better take care of it, stop. The switch right here is stop and ask, what should I do with this? And then listen. And my answer was listen, okay, spend more time being quiet. Oh, I can do that. I don't have to call a doctor and check. Not right now. Who knows? Maybe later. But today the answer is sit with me, be with me. Oh, okay, I'll do that. That's everything. That's the whole program. So I found it helpful, and you guys, if we're doing this together, that was one focus that Unity offered, to take one aspect of where our ego has taken over, one at a time. Sometimes it's overwhelming, but one at a time, whether it was anger, anxiety, or fear, and let it come into our awareness so it can be released. And the only choice we have is to recognize we don't know what to do with it, but there is one with us that is part of us that does. Ask that question and receive and go with that answer. Thanks, Brother James. Thanks, everyone. I love you.
Thank you, Vicki. So, Vicki, we would love for you to every day during Lent tell us what the word is. Tell us.
Okay.
So, for those of you who didn't know about this yesterday, if you want to work on anger, just whenever, like, I love what you said. It really is as simple as just swish it away. We think it's so complex. It isn't. It's your choice. You just need to make the choice to find that out. If you feel anger come up, okay, there it is. Thank you. Thank you. Anxiety, okay. I can choose love instead. I can choose joy instead. So let's use this 40 days as we reach toward resurrection, to be within our whole mind, to let go. It's like throwing weights off of a hot air balloon. Just toss them off. You're not going to lift off the ground until you get rid of the weight. So just toss them away. You don't need them anymore. So Vicky, yes, that would be great. Neil, any final words?
I just noticed that if I say I am angry, it sentences me to being the anger. I have anger. I mean, I experienced this anger coming up. As long as I have a distance from it, I have a choice about it. But if I say I am anger, we're kind of sentencing ourselves.
Yeah. And not only that, but you're literally using the power of the name of God to do that. The I am presence. Change. Another way to let those things go, when you feel angry, use an I am statement to nullify it. I am happy. I am buoyant. Instead of I am anxious, I am free. I am awake. Whatever it may be, let's use this 40 days together. So thank you, Neil. I just want to say that this beautiful book, The Enlightenment, I assume that you have it on Amazon
I
and
do.
other places. So those of you who are watching this on Zoom, you can go and check it out. Beautiful, beautiful things. And Neil does have some copies here. If anyone didn't get one last time, he's got some copies here. So we're so thrilled that you're going to be coming every Thursday and joining with us. I'm just so grateful to have a brother he's my older brother. I mean, look at us. We're just
Older, shorter brother with more hair.
not a lot.
No, but at least there's somebody I have more hair.
So thank you, everyone. Let's just take a deep breath together. Today we step into the enlightenment of this moment, because every moment is filled with light and delight and wholeness and grace. We choose this moment to release the shackles of anger, the chains of anxiety. We choose to walk together during this Lenten season to the full resurrection of my mind into wholeness, that I may know and share that only love is real, that God is love, and therefore so am I. We claim this resolutely, and we say, ready? Amen, 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 y punto. So it is. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Love you all.
Have a
Happy Thursday.
Happy
Love.
Thursday.
Namaste.
Have a great week.
Bye.